What's going on, guys? Welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about confronting the biggest challenge in my life and how I have come to grips with it, embraced it, and really made it part of my daily drive and motivation. So I mentioned it briefly in a past video that I was born with a congenital heart defect. Basically, my heart doesn't pump blood as well as a normal heart would, so I had to get a fake artificial valve put in when I was a baby, and then again when I was 13. Like, obviously you don't really remember anything if you're on anesthesia and surgery, but there was a lot that came along with that heart defect that for the longest time I struggled with. So before I had surgery when I was 13, I was always really, really limited in sports, or at least I was supposed to be. Because people were worried about the impact it would have on my heart. So I would take a break from running sprints or warm-ups or whatever. I would use my defect essentially as an excuse to get out of these things. And as time went on, I started to develop really, really bad habits of saying, oh, I don't need to do this because of my heart, when in reality, I totally could have done it. As a kid, I was also super embarrassed about the scars it left on my body. Like, I have a huge scar down my chest, like holes where tubes were, things like that. And I was so embarrassed as a kid. Like, I would always wear swim shirts to go swimming. I would never take my shirt off unless I had to, things like that. Like, I was super self-conscious, super insecure about the scars that this had left on my body, nevertheless the actual heart problem. And then when I was 13, I kind of had to do this all over again. My scar was twice as visible. The holes where the tubes were even more visible. I continued to use that excuse in soccer tryouts and other athletic things that, oh, I didn't need to do this, or I couldn't do this because of my heart defect. And again, it led to really, really bad habits that I formed throughout the majority of my childhood, especially in relation to athletics. Now, don't get me wrong. I was really, really cautious about how I handled sports and things with my heart. And there were signs that I knew if certain things were happening in my body that I had to stop. And I was always super, super self-conscious with that. However, I often embellished those signs and said I wasn't feeling well, when in reality I was fine. I was just fatigued from whatever we were doing because I was out of shape. But what that did was put a quitter's mentality in my head, which is something I struggled with for so long. I don't think I broke out of that quitter's mentality until probably a year ago. Like, I am so passionate about this stuff, and I am the way that I am, so passionate about training my mind and inspiring others to train their mind to be knowledgeable and strong and calloused, is because I spent the first 18 years of my life with a mind that, looking back on, I know was not only ineffective, but literally laughable. Connecting this back to the main story in all of this, I started to break out of that mentality by truly, truly embracing what this brought upon me. No, it wasn't some magical realization I had, like, oh my gosh, like, this is the best thing ever. Like, you can use this to inspire other people in so many different ways. It wasn't like that, and it still is not like that. Like, it's a daily, daily battle to flip the perspective of how I can turn this seemingly negative thing, again, like, right now, I don't view it as a negative thing. I view it truly as a blessing. But it's a daily battle to try to flip something that seems so negative and seems like it can hurt you in so many ways and flip that into a positive. One of those things that I've used to flip this perspective is creating something I like to call my why. Everyone has something or multiple things that drive them like no other. For me, this is part of it. For this specific part of my why, it really has to do with like physical fitness and physical activity, for me at least. So when I'm working out and I know I have 4 more reps and I can't even like feel my arms. I turn to this for extra motivation and drive. As time has gone on, I have really found that this is the best form of motivation. It's not looking at people you don't like or often use motivation, try to one-up them. It's not watching endless YouTube videos or listening to endless podcasts. Like, that only takes you so far. You need to find something within yourself to drive you. And as time has gone on, I've found different things, which I'm going to talk about in more depth in future videos, that really drive me. But this, probably the biggest challenge I've ever faced in my life, is a huge factor in what really drives me as a human being. And like I said, this doesn't happen overnight. Like, flipping a perspective on a negative situation, you have to fight through pain, you have to fight through trauma. But it's in flipping that perspective that you gain some of the best drive you can ever imagine. I don't know all of your life stories. I don't know everything you guys have gone through, but I'm sure there's something in your life comparable to this that you can try to flip a perspective on and make it into a big factor in your motivation, your drive, your why. And ultimately, when you find these things and find your why, or things that lead you to be more driven as a human being, you're going to find you're living a much more purposeful life. Like, right now, I feel I'm living a life full of purpose, full of drive. Like, again, not because I'm trying to show off or prove myself to somebody. It's more because I feel these things in my heart that drive me, and I feel it would almost be a disservice to myself if I didn't act upon them. I want to challenge you guys to try to find those things in your life. Try to find what your why is. One thing I did when I was really understanding the importance of finding your why was write these things down. There's multiple things in my life, and I'm sure there are in your lives as well, that can be used as such a powerful driving force in your motivation. Thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for listening to me talk a little bit about this challenge and how I've grown to overcome it and what it really means to overcome a challenge and embrace it in your life. I always say you have to embrace everything that comes in your life, the good, the bad, the ugly. And this really has taught me to do that more than anything else has. If you guys did enjoy the video, please go like it. Please leave a comment on what else you'd like to see. Subscribe if you haven't already, and God bless you.